Living in Germany can be a blissful and safe choice, but there can also be many dangers lurking around the corner that may make you reconsider ever coming here. Hey guys, and welcome back to our channel. I am Donnie, and along with my wife Aubrey, we are two Americans currently living in Germany with our family, sharing all of our experiences living and traveling throughout Europe. We've debated for years about how long we would live in Germany, but year after year we have just stayed. When we consider where we want to live, one of the biggest factors that we consider, of course, is safety. Especially now that we have children, we really appreciate how safe we generally feel in our daily lives in Germany. However, there's a dark side to Germany where some things feel very dangerous for us as Americans that make us pause and reconsider how safe we really do feel here. And that's exactly what I'm going to talk about today in my video. Germans are a little bit starey, but are they also a little bit scary? We've talked about how German playgrounds are death traps, but it doesn't stop there. German homes have their own fair share of death traps. There is one thing in Germany that seems fairly mundane at first, but upon further investigation, you find that the windows in Germany are actually quite dangerous and in some cases, fatal. Somewhat exaggerating there, but also perhaps not. Yes, there are many clips of foreigners in Germany for the first time who are astounded by the magical German windows. You can open them like doors, but more impressively, with a simple rotation of the handle, you can tilt them to let a nice breeze in as well. Because these types of windows simply don't exist in the US, to some foreigners, for the first time, this actually can be quite scary, as you think you have broken the window and that it is about to come crashing down on you. But no. This isn't the scary bit. And in fact, it took us about 3 years of living in Germany for us to even discover the risk to life and limb because of how unscary these windows are. So what event happened 3 years after moving to Germany that suddenly planted fear in our lives around these windows? We had our first baby. And what do babies like to do? Stick their fingers in cracks. I can't tell you how many times we have seen our children and our children's friends who walk up to a kipped door or window, naturally grab the side and then put their weight on the door, forcing it closed and smashing their fingers in the crack. We didn't even own an ice pack until tiny infant sausages started getting mangled in these magical German doors and windows. So sure, the odd smash and pain-fueled breakdown, but that's not really a death trap, right? Well, there's another danger to these tilting windows, and these actually can be quite deadly, specifically for cats. In fact, according to vets and animal welfare organizations, tilt windows is one of the most common causes of injury and death in cats in Germany, and it is estimated that thousands of animals are injured or even killed every year when trying to escape from tilted windows or doors. This is such a common danger and problem that in German, the language that has a word for everything, the specific term for animals getting stuck in tilted windows is das Kippenfenster syndrome. There are even protective barriers you can buy for tilted windows so that animals can't try to crawl through and end up getting stuck. This is something that I have definitely never seen in the US. Now, I know that I have young family members that watch these videos, and I am therefore going to save us all from the gory details, but suddenly a few smashed fingers doesn't seem so bad compared to the end a pet could meet when trying to slide through a tilted window only to get pinched in and unable to free themselves. By the way, with this talk about dangers in a foreign country as a foreigner, how about this for a danger?
They took a trip to Switzerland and sent photos and texts back home, but their phone bill ended up being more than $143,000.
Thanks to the sponsor of today's video, UBG, you can completely avoid this danger. As someone who has visited over 40 countries and lived on 2 continents, I can definitely tell you the pain it is to figure out how to get data plans around the world or trying to find random Wi-Fi signals to connect to that may not even be be secure so I'm not completely disconnected while traveling. UBG is an app that allows you to get eSIM data plans at over 200 destinations, and it's amazing because all you have to do is download their app, sign up, select where you're going, pick a plan, and once you arrive, turn it on. No switching out SIM cards, downloading new eSIMs for every country, no paying insane roaming fees from your provider, and no commitments. However, get yourself in a pinch and forget to set it up before your trip? No problem. UBG is the only app that allows you to recharge your account even without Wi-Fi or cellular data credit left. Once you're traveling, enjoy UBG's strong coverage that includes 5G connections in many of its destinations. Use the link in the description and my promo code PASSPORT2 to get a 10% discount. Germans complain about chlorine in American water and how it tastes like pool water and how that couldn't possibly be healthy. But have you seen how they store their milk and eggs? Just out on shelves and not refrigerated? You're trying to tell me a little bit of chlorine in water is dangerous, but you're risking drinking spoiled milk and rotten eggs is healthy? And on top of that, when you open the eggs, there might even be feathers, dirt, or poop still stuck to them? Oh! Hopefully you guys can read into sarcasm. Yes, for Americans first coming to Germany who are used to milk and eggs being found almost exclusively in the refrigeration section of grocery stores, and where our cows and chickens are also kept in massive refrigerators so the milk and eggs are cold from the moment of retrieval, it is quite shocking when we first come to Germany and just see milk and eggs sitting out on shelves and in our mind just rotting away and becoming dangerous to our health to consume. However, here's the thing that you need to know. German milk and eggs can sit out unrefrigerated, whereas American milk and eggs cannot. Why? Science. Eggs have a naturally occurring cuticle that keeps germs out, that in the US it is standard practice to go through a washing and sanitizing process that clears contaminants, but also removes the natural protection that eggs have against bacteria. Because of this, eggs are refrigerated during processing and must remain chilled to reduce the risk of salmonella contamination. In Europe, they instead choose to just keep the natural coating on it, and therefore they can actually sit out for a couple of weeks at room temperature and are perfectly safe. This also is the case if you buy farm fresh eggs in the US, by the way, but that's also if you can even afford eggs in the US these days. In terms of the milk, it comes down again to the way that Americans and Germans try and protect against bacteria. In the US, milk is pasteurized by a high temperature process, whereas in Germany, they use an ultra high temperature pasteurization process. The US process is cheaper and efficient at processing larger batches of milk, but it reduces shelf life to around 7 to 10 days. In Germany, milk can stay fresh outside of the fridge for about 3 months, but the ultra high heat does alter the flavor of milk slightly, and apparently to a flavor that Americans couldn't get behind in the 90s when UHT milk was tested in the US. So as we can see, both the eggs and milk are indeed safe to consume in both countries, and it is a false perceived danger for Americans in Germany. It's just two different ways to skin a cat. In light of our last section, that wasn't probably a good phrase to use. But I would be interested in knowing from our German audience, how many of you will then put the milk in the fridge when you take it home so you can drink it cold? I'll be honest and say that in Germany, I've been served cold and room temperature milk, so I don't know what the actual standard is in Germany. Germany and the US have some very interesting differences when it comes to at what age you should be allowed to do something. Although both countries agree that you are legally an adult at 18, we then quickly start to diverge from there. One of the scariest and most shocking differences for Americans is how Germany allows children to drink alcohol. Well, that's at least what an over-exaggerating YouTuber might say. In Germany, from 14, you are allowed to drink beer or wine in the presence and with the approval of an adult in a custodial role. From 16, you're allowed to buy and drink beer and wine at your own free will. From 18, you are no longer limited to beer and wine and are allowed to buy and consume any form of alcohol you would choose. For Americans like myself, I can tell you that with this in combination with Germany's looser open carry laws, wait, not that kind of open carry, that's the kind Americans feel comfortable with. I mean openly carrying and consuming alcohol. That's terrifying to Americans. That's because in the US, the general law is that those under 21, yes, those that have been legal adults for 3 years, can't buy or consume alcohol. Now, hold up. That's not actually totally true. So why did you just say it? Because that's what most people believe. So teens can buy alcohol in the US? No, not until they're 21. So what you said is true about 21 being the legal limit. No. What? In 29 states, someone under 21 may drink with their parents' permission if it's in a private residence or on private property. 6 states allow someone under 21 to drink on private property without their parents' consent. 8 states allow underage people to drink with the parents' consent in public restaurants or bars. In 26 states, people under 21 may drink alcohol as part of a religious service, such as a ceremony in your church. In 16 states, underage people can drink alcohol if prescribed by a doctor for medical reasons. In 11 states, you can drink under 21 if it's for educational reasons, like you're in cooking school. 5 states allow underage people to drink as part of government work, such as undercover police investigations. Surprisingly, even with it commonly being said that it doesn't seem to make sense that you can't drink but the government can draft you and send you to war, a majority of Americans actually don't support reducing the drinking age to 18. In Germany, there's just a different mindset towards alcohol. The idea is more that rather than trying to teach responsibility through prohibition, let's teach responsible alcohol consumption through supervision. More rather than you make mistakes when you start drinking and you are living on your own, let's have you make those mistakes while you live with your parents who can help guide you and hopefully take care of you. Is it a better way? Well, even some Germans want the drinking age raised. Perhaps not as high as in the US, but at least higher than what it currently is in Germany. For example, the lovable Karl Lauterbach proposed in 2024 to end supervised drinking for under 16 in bars. His argument being exactly what Americans think is so dangerous about this. The presence of adults does not change the harmfulness of alcohol for children. And the managing director of the German Center for Addiction Issues has also called for an increase to the drinking age to 18. The earlier alcohol consumption begins, the greater the likelihood of addiction and the lower the likelihood of overcoming this addiction. But what do you guys think? Is 21 too high? Is under 18 too young? Let me know in the comments. When we talk about the dangers in Germany, after 6 years of making content about life in Germany compared to the US, I already know about 90% of the comments are going to be something like, well, actually, you cannot dare to say anything is dangerous in Germany when you have more guns per capita than useless and bizarre measuring units. Just use the metric system. Okay. Since you brought it up, even for someone who owned a gun in the US and was fairly comfortable around them, I'm not comfortable with Germany's sporadic hunting blind layouts. You're always going off about how you would never live in the US because of the bullets whizzing around, but you can't drive down a German country road without the threat of bullets flying over your head. Okay, all of that is basically false and a bit of an over-exaggeration again. And actually, as a legal German myself, I will take the pleasure of correcting my exaggerating American half for you guys by saying I've actually never seen a hunter in a hunting blind in Germany myself and haven't felt threatened. But I have been surprised at how many hunting blinds I see in my local area and just how many of them are set up directly facing and or at least right next to a road. In the US, hunting is obviously very common, and hunting blinds or deer stands are also very common. However, you don't really see them next to a road. If you're going hunting, you're usually going way in the countryside somewhere far away from others. So I'm not used to seeing these like I see them regularly here in Germany. I also will admit to get a hunting license in Germany and permission to even own a gun is a feat in and of itself. With the amount of bureaucracy I had to go through just to get this little book, I can't imagine the bureaucracy one must go through to obtain the rights to shoot a deadly weapon, as opposed to the US where it is considerably easier. So in theory, anybody hunting in Germany should be quite skilled, and the risk of losing their licenses would make them quite safe in how they operate while hunting near a town, street, or even the Autobahn. And as you would expect for Germany, the land of DIN standards and rules and regulations, these aren't actually set up haphazardly like I may have initially led you to believe. You can't just set up a hunting blind anywhere you want. There are, of course, rules about having to keep structures like these at least 40 meters away from the Autobahn and 15 meters from district roads. That still seems oddly close for me, and that's coming from an American. and a German, I guess. But there is also advice to not situate your stand in such a way that you could be blinded by traffic headlights, which for obvious reasons wouldn't be ideal, but rather situate it just in a way that you can, and I love this because it highlights German efficiency, use the incidental light for aiding your hunting. However, I am comforted by the fact that it's not just Americans who aren't used to this that are concerned about the proximity of some of these next to roads. For example, I found online where some Germans were complaining about a hunter in their blind shooting towards the streets and homes, or other Germans also seeing hunting blinds right by the Autobahn, wondering how on earth this could be allowed. But I am interested, are any of you hunters in Germany and use these types of hunting blinds? Are German children's lives at risk every time they get in a car due to a lack of safety standards for car seats here? Well, that's what we, along with many Americans, think the first time they go to strap their children into a European car seat. When we first had our baby and got his first car seat, we went to buckle him in only to be confused about the fact that our car seat had a missing chest clip. You see, in the US, you essentially always buckle a child by their legs and then also up by their chest, so 2 buckles. However, in Germany and Europe, you only have 1 buckle at the bottom. So aren't children at risk of, in the case of an accident, being propelled through the straps and into the back of the front car seats? Well, perhaps no. Lacking a chest clip isn't some kind of manufacturing or safety oversight. Rather, European law only allows 1 buckle on car seats. The reason for the law in Europe being they want a parent to be able to get their child out of a car seat with 1 motion in the case of an emergency where seconds might mean life or death. Surprisingly, American law actually doesn't require a chest clip at all either, but it doesn't forbid it like in Europe. In the US, the idea is that they actually are to ensure that the straps stay in the exact position they are supposed to be in prior to a crash so that the child can benefit the most from their design to keep them safe and from not ejecting. In our experience, despite our best efforts to lock our first child in his car seat like gold that's supposedly in Fort Knox, and despite European car seats designs having different ways of trying to ensure the straps stay where they are supposed to be without using a chest clip, our baby boy still found a way to slip his little arms out of the straps like a mini Houdini. Interestingly, Australia also is a country where they don't use chest clips on their car seats due to concerns they may cause neck injuries in a crash. But in 2019, Australian researchers at the Transurban Road Safety Center discovered no signs of serious injury related to the chest clips, and in fact, they agree with American research in that they could be safer to use them, and they observed a reduction in the risk of neck injuries when the chest clips were used. So, should you use them or not? Well, you can actually buy aftermarket chest clips to add to European car seats if you feel safer with them. However, the general advice is that you should use car seats how they were designed. If they are designed with a chest clip, you need to use it because that is how they have been designed and tested to be most effective. If they're designed without one, they usually have special features built in to keep them safer that other car seats with chest clips don't have. Again, potentially just 2 ways to skin a cat. I need to stop using that term. But I know people online love to offer their 2 cents on how best to raise other people's children, so what do you think? Chest clip or no chest clip? To see who made it this far into the video, the random question of the week is: are you a morning shower or evening shower person? Thanks so much for watching this video, guys. Be sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons, and I will see you in my next video. Dangers lurking under the corner. Whoops.